What's going on, Maple Leafs fans? Happy Saturday. The Leafs just lost in overtime to the Nashville Predators in a game that at the beginning didn't look very good, and as the game went better and better, it looked like everybody was playing a little bit better. So I hope that your night is going just as well. Welcome to Game Over. It is just me tonight. I am your host, Lauren Williamson. Before we get going, please make sure if you guys can hit like and subscribe. It would really help the stream out. I'm sure some of you have this on at a hockey party, in which case, welcome. That would be me too. Like I said, tonight it's just going to be me talking about the game. A game that, like I said, Samsonov didn't look so good at the start of the game, letting one of the first four shots in again. But as the game went on, looked better and better. It must be that last year mask. Maybe this New Year's mask had a bit of bad juju. Whatever it was, Samsonov, as the game went on, just looked more calm, looked more steady, was making better saves, and was making all of us clench maybe just a little bit less as the game went on. So we're going to talk about the game right off the bat. Let's get right to it because, like I said, I'm sure some of you are at a party. So just to start off the game, we actually start off, instead of the Matthews Marner line to start off, we actually have Bertuzzi, Tavares, and Nylander starting. 14 seconds in, good chances right off the bat. It was really nice to see the Leafs come out playing really well to start the game in terms of forward-wise. Samsonov made a good save 2 minutes in. It was nice to see him make that first save. I'm sure he was able to exhale very well after that. I know that I can only imagine how well he's played. I'm sure if you're here, you saw his comments yesterday in the interview when he was talking about not feeling very well. Obviously, he mentioned the fact that he knew that he wasn't performing well. And so we can only imagine after a game like tonight, even though they only got the 1 point, that maybe he starts to feel a bit better because he did seem to get his feet under him more and more as the game went on, which again was just so good to see. The Leafs can't clear the puck. 5 minutes in, Willie gets a couple good chances. Riley getting a good chance right off the crossbar. Shots were 6-2 for Toronto, 12 minutes in, limiting Nashville, who, while they aren't necessarily known as an offensive juggernaut, obviously do have some very strong players on their team and are definitely able to bury it. And fortunately, the Leafs actually bury it first. William Nylander on a beautiful one-timer most of the way through the first period after some ridiculous saves from UC Saros. We're going to talk all about both goalies later on in the show. But just right off the bat, the Leafs starting off strong. Like I said, it was nice to see Samsonov get some saves, but it seemed like the Leafs were getting a lot of chances, almost similar to the game against Washington the other night, where Washington was getting all kinds of opportunities and just not getting them in. UC Saros stealing more than a couple of really good opportunities from the Leafs right at the beginning of the game and all the way through the game. I mean, he's one of the best goalies in the league. I actually have him on my fantasy team, so it was a bittersweet game for me. I was sort of hoping that the Leafs would finish off the road trip strong. They had a really good road trip, actually, considering it's the first one of the year. Normally, the first road trip of the year, even the first month of the year, isn't very good. And the first road trip is usually not played as well as they have. And they actually have finished this road trip off 3-1-1. It would have been nice to get the last win right before we head home, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, right? Nashville. Right after William Nylander scoring, Nashville gets a power play, and they make good on the first of many power play goals that they made in this game. Listen, everybody, death taxes and former Leafs scoring against the Leafs. Just the first of his tonight, and that goal was the only goal that I had written down that Sammy let in that I really wish that he could have saved. The play for O'Reilly when he's standing right at the goal line and he has it and he actually just makes like a fairly slow turn and play. And if Sammy just has his pad 2 inches lower, that goal doesn't go in and maybe it doesn't go to overtime and maybe this stream starts a couple minutes sooner. That was the first, I think it was the fourth shot on goal and he lets it in and I mean, it's unfortunate to see, right? After the last game that he played, he lets in, three goals on the first four shots. So I got to admit, when he let that goal in, I winced out loud. I did, because was hoping, I think we were all hoping that as the games went on and as he got another opportunity, maybe he would be able to, start the game a little bit stronger. It was obviously a little bit deflating to see them, to see Nashville score so soon after taking a 1-0 lead. There was only a minute 27 actually between the Leafs goal and the Ryan O'Reilly goal. That's actually it's been a trend so far this season. I don't know if you're watching this, maybe you've noticed, but this year specifically, in almost every single Leafs game, at some point the Leafs will get a goal, and within a minute and 40 seconds, the other team either draws a penalty from the Leafs because they're playing sloppy and playing a little bit too loosey-goosey, or they just get a goal. It's been a trend in almost every game so far this year. As soon as the Leafs score a goal, they seem to let their foot off the gas. The exception, of course, being the game last weekend against Tampa Bay where they scored 3 in a row, but that was an outlier. And even in that game, there was a goal that was scored by the Leafs, and not 90 seconds later, the other team puts the puck in the back of the net against the Leafs. So that trend seems to be continuing, unfortunately, and a good trend that we can talk about. William Nylander extending his point streak to start the season. What was it? I have it written down here. 8-game goal streak. Pardon me. Ties the franchise record for most goals to start the season in a row. So that's obviously, we all know that as the games are going on, as we're getting deeper into the season, William Nylander's contract is being ratcheted up 1 point. It seems like with every game that he plays, he has another fantastic play, and he's earning his next contract. And I imagine that as he plays as well as he does and continues to produce and even be somewhat responsible on the PK, I imagine that the Leafs want to sign him even more and more. So let's hope that happens soon, but it doesn't happen before the end of the period. Penalty taken right at the end of the first. Klingberg with a bad trip with 2:37 to go. UC Saros makes a huge save right before the end of the period with 14 seconds left. And we go into the first intermission. The notes I have written down here tied 1-1, but Samsonov seemed like he was fighting, and Saros was just strong. I mean, UC Saros is just one of the best, and I think one of the most underrated goals in the entire league. A lot of people talk about, Shesterkin and Vasilevsky and Connor Hellebuyck, and that's not to take away from any of those goalies, but UC Saros is one of the smaller goalies in the league. And I say small, but I believe he's actually like 6 foot. But he's very explosive, and he's in a controlled way, and he has a lot of energy. His ability to move across the crease is really impressive, and I'm not trying to jack his tires up or anything like that, but UC Saros really kept the Nashville Predators in the game to start the first period. The second period obviously starts. William Legacy, actually, I didn't really notice him in the first period, but he gets a really nice shot 2 minutes in that is gone just wide. Noah Gregor hits a post right after that. UC Saros, another post. Marner chance right from a really good interception that was right in front of the Nashville goal line. What an opportunity for him. I thought that was going to go in, and I was a little bit sad when it didn't, to be totally honest. The shots were 18-8 for Toronto, 5 minutes and 40 seconds into the second period. I wouldn't say that this is a game where necessarily the Leafs got goalied. It was just a really good goaling, man. Like, he's a really good goalie. He's one of those people where, if for some reason, fairy godmother comes down and asks me to trade someone from the Nashville Predators onto the Leafs, I would have a hard time not picking UC Saros. Even though Roman Yossi's there, and obviously Ryan O'Reilly is an excellent player, and he scores twice tonight, and I would love for him to have stayed on the Leafs. But man, it's games like tonight where you really see the difference in a tight game. Even though, like I said, Samsonov was getting better as the game went on, UC Saros is just he's so strong in his net, and he's so calm. He gives the team that he plays behind so much confidence, and they don't have to worry about some of the things. And he steals so many saves. He steals so many saves that it just makes me want to rip my notebook in half sometimes, because I would just give anything for Samsonov to be able to tap into a little bit of that. And And I have to imagine that even though Samsonov as the game went on and he did get stronger, well, we'll talk about that later, but I just have so many notes about UC Saros, it's hard to not comment on it, honestly. But the Leafs actually are able to recover the lead. Mark Giordano, in good positioning, being very, very quiet. That has to have been his first goal in like something like 40 games. I mean, he's obviously the oldest player in the league right now, so obviously the oldest goal scorer in the league. It was a really nice goal from Max Domi and David Kampf, two players that on the third line, even though the third line hasn't necessarily been producing as much as we had hoped in terms of goals, they are the reason that goal happens. And Gio just looked so happy. Like, he was standing there with his arms open like, guys, come love me. And it was so good to see them go over and give him a big hug. He looked really, really, really excited about it. But what happens a minute and 20 seconds later, people? What happens? You know what's coming, right? A minute and 20 seconds later. Oh, that's right. Nashville scores to tie it again. Because we can't have a minute and a half. We can't even let the arena finish announcing who scored the Leafs goal before they let another one in. And who is it? Ryan O'Reilly. Again. Oh, it was almost the same play too. It was so rough to see. Like the power play, it was another power play goal. I didn't mention that. My apologies. The Calle Jarnkrok trip that happens a minute and 20 seconds after the goal, right? Nashville scores a minute into their power play. Like, you could just feel it. Like, I'm not a big sports bettor. I don't really like gambling. It's not really my thing. But I'm not trying to condone gambling here, especially if you're an NHL player. But death taxes and former Leafs scoring against the Leafs. Am I right, everybody? Like, we can't have been surprised that he played so well tonight. I'm surprised that he didn't get a hat trick. I thought for sure that he was going to get the overtime goal when it went to overtime, just because gestures broadly to everything, right? It was tough to see him score both of the goals that tied the game tonight. It was really rough to see. Obviously, he looks happy there, and I'm glad that he's happy, but I'm also super bummed that he wasn't able to stay, that he didn't want to stay as much as we hoped that he would stay. And there was a couple penalties that were taken. Nashville slash on the Leafs with 4:33 to go. Nashville kills it off, and they are 50% on the night for their power plays to end the second period. And I gotta tell you, everybody, going into the third, I actually felt pretty good. I felt pretty good. Even though Saros was playing so well, it really felt like the quality of chances that the Leafs were getting wasn't gonna go fully stopped the rest of the game. The Leafs were leading in shots by almost 10 for the whole game. It really felt like they were dominating on the offense. And as the game went on more and more, it seemed like every time the Leafs, any team turned it over, there was a rush the other way. Like that, I want to know if they skated more on average in tonight's game than they have in the last couple of games, because it seemed like every time they turned over the puck, it created a quality chance on both sides. Both ways. As soon as Nashville would turn it over, the Leafs would get just a prime scoring opportunity, but Saros would stand tall. And as the game went on, like I said, I don't know if it's last year's helmet or if Samsonov just felt better as the game went on, but it really felt like the Leafs were going to break through in the third. There were a couple really good opportunities, even though both teams got more power plays again as the third went on. Nashville took the first one in the third. Nashville got a power play 2 minutes and 18 seconds into the third period. The Leafs killed it off. Nashville takes a penalty, delay of game. The Preds kill it off, and it was 2 back-to-back penalties that, they talk about things that stop the game, and I know that they're trying to make it so that the games are more exciting, but you have a puck over, you have a delay of game. It's not a puck over the glass penalty. It's the delay of game penalty, followed directly by a too many men penalty. And even though Keefe was laughing on the bench, I have to imagine that he wasn't. He was sort of laughing to not bite the face off the referees. Barry trips Matthews on to lead to a 4-on-4 at the end of that power play or that PK. The Leafs unfortunately cannot capitalize on the 4-on-4 or the ensuing power play. Domi hits the crossbar with just over a few minutes to go to save it. UC Saros again saves with 7 seconds to go, and they kill it off. We go to overtime, and one Leaf, just the one touches the puck in overtime. As soon as the Nashville Predators got it, they did not give it up. Like, credit where credit's due, man. I'm not usually someone, like I said, to pump the tires of the winning team, but as soon as Nashville got the puck, they were so relentless. They made smart plays. They weren't pushing. They weren't taking reckless chances. They weren't trying to force anything. They were comfortable leaving the zone and then re-entering. The Leafs barely got a chance. For goodness sake, Morgan Rielly ended up on the ice for like 2 minutes and 4 seconds. And the OT was only 2 minutes and 25 seconds long. Like, he got stranded, and it was just the Preds were able to hem the Leafs in. And, lo and behold, Roman Josi buries it with 2:47 to go, and that's it. Now, the good thing is the Leafs get to go home. I think they get a couple days off. Someone can check that for me. The Leafs get a couple days off, and then they come home, and they start out back next week on Tuesday against the LA Kings. So they have a couple days off to recover, but unfortunately fall in overtime to UC Saros, Ryan O'Reilly, Tyson Barrie, and the Nashville Predators. I'm a little parched after that spiel, so let me hydrate. Hydrate, everybody, especially if you're at one of those Halloween parties. So, what do I think of Samsonov's performance? Excellent question, Nicholas. To start the game off, I was glad he made the first save. That was nice to see. The second and third save as well. You make it out of the first three, not letting one in, which is a nice change considering the last couple games how he's started. He's looked really shaky from the beginning. It seemed like I said, and I have said through this whole stream, that as he played, as he got some confidence, as he made some saves successfully, he seemed to be playing it a little bit better, finding the puck through the crowd a little bit better, making better reads. He seemed to have a lot of really good rebound control tonight. When the pucks were coming and hitting him and he was doing his little, like, I don't know what you would call it, like a little sumo crab clench, it really stuck to him, which was nice to see. The last couple games, some of the goals that have come against Samsonov is because he makes that initial save, but the second or third save he just isn't able to make because it just bounces off of him, and it's unfortunate. It looks like, with a couple days off, taking a game off, some extra training with Curtis Sanford, that maybe that is starting to turn the corner, which would be great, because as the game went on, if he continues to play like he did in the second and third period, I have no doubt that he's gonna make a full comeback and maybe challenge Joseph Woll for the net at this point, because even though he's only played, 6 periods total, I gotta say, I think Joseph Woll would have made that first save tonight against Ryan O'Reilly. And maybe that's just recency bias. That's entirely possible, because there's something about the way Joseph Woll plays in the net that just feels a little bit more secure. He seems to have his pads just a bit tighter to the ice, a bit tighter to the post, and my initial thought when Samsonov let that first goal in was that Joseph Woll probably would have made that save. And maybe that's the difference between a goalie like Samsonov and a goalie like UC Saros, because Saros was lights out tonight. He was so good. And there's a big difference between a goalie that's that good and our arguable starter right now. I think it's fair to say that nothing is settled in terms of who is the official starter. I mean, for goodness sakes, we're on game 9. It's not even a 10th of the way through the season. But it looks like maybe Samsonov is starting to turn the corner, which is, I think, good to see. Now, let's talk about something else that happened. Actually, I didn't actually know this until about a third of the way through the period when SDPN producer Robert Malloy sent me something in our chat telling me that Joe Thornton retired tonight. Former Leaf Joe Thornton his one season with the Leafs, obviously short but sweet. Nothing but good things to say about Joe Thornton and his short time with us. Also retiring today, Tomas Plekanec, him and his 17 games as a Leaf. Congratulations to both of you for retirement. Can we get some stick taps in the chat for both of those former Leafs? Jumbo, I mean, in full fashion, right? If you go on Twitter, X right now, the video's going around like wildfire. And how is Joe Thornton dressed, everybody? What does he not have on? He's got a hat. Missing a tarp. Looks like he's got a sweet tan going on, too. It was nice of him to post the video the way that he did. Normally, when players retire, they send someone, I guarantee this is how it happens. They write something out in their phone in, the Notes app, and they screenshot it and send to someone that, works in their company or whatever, or works for their former team. And they make it this nice big graphic with all the features and everything. No way. Joe Thornton just takes a selfie video shirtless and is like, so, everybody's wondering where I am. Well, I retired. Everybody take care. It was great. It was so good to see him. He looked so happy, and wishing him a long, happy life. I'm sure that he will not actually be away from hockey for too long. Like most hockey players, it sounds like he just needs some time away, gonna spend some time with the fam, and I don't see a world where he's not involved in hockey in the same way, shape, or form. It might not be with the NHL, right? I mean, I believe that he lives with his wife and their kids in Switzerland or somewhere, and you have to imagine that he is going to be involved in hockey in some way over there, because when you make a sport like that your whole life, and it's very well known how much Joe loves being at the rink and being a part of hockey and having it be a part of his day. And even though I'm sure he is going to take some time away and spend it with his family and everything, addicts come back to their sport of choice. Just like all of us at the end of every season when we're like, well, the Leafs have hurt me and I won't be back next year. Well, here you are. And we love having you. So, this is the midpoint of the stream, so I'm just going to say make sure you guys hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. So, again, congratulations to both of those former Leafs for retiring, wishing them a long, happy retirement. Don't be away too long, though, Joe. Moreover, like I said, William Nylander extending his 8-goal game streak. We got to talk about this guy, man. It's funny, at the beginning of the season, I didn't really know how I felt about the whole situation. To be totally honest with you, I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I thought that they were going to do. I didn't know if they were going to extend him. As the games go on, it seems more and more like they want to extend him, and he is giving the team more reasons to extend him, and that is very quickly hitting the add button onto the bottom of his contract. And at this point, if you had asked me a month ago how I felt about it, I wouldn't have had a clear answer. I think at this point, I'm pretty willing to suffer through a really bad year next year if it means that we can guarantee, that he's going to be a Leaf for a long time. He's just too good, everybody. He's just too good. The plays that he makes, the space that he's able to make, even though I don't even think he got on the score sheet tonight. Even though he did get a goal. What am I talking about? Even though he is going to cost a lot, and it's going to mean that the rest of our team is handicapped. It's becoming harder and harder to imagine the Leafs letting him walk. Even if you go on to social media, or you follow any of the hockey analysts, they were talking to some of the Nashville Predator players about the contract, and I know Willie's is friends with a couple. I think he's friends with Philip Forsberg on the Nashville Predators, and they had dinner last night, and it's other teams are even recognizing how good he is. If he goes to free agency, he's gonna get such a big paycheck, it's gonna make my head spin. And even though it's gonna make us all suffer, I don't know how we don't just suck it up and re-sign him and figure it out later. There was a stat that went out earlier today talking about how his ice time has gone up basically incrementally every year. And this year he's been, even though I think Matthews is still leading. No, I think he actually has more goals than Matthews at this point. He he's playing like the best player. Even though he has his defensive liabilities, his ability to create space and his pass ability and his goal scoring this year it's just been dazzling. I don't know. You can use whatever adjective you want. Whatever words you use, there's not going to be enough good ones because he's played so good, and he's only making it harder for us to not consider the fact that maybe we need to just suffer, and it's worth it because that's how good he is. That's how good he is. And I don't think it's an easy fix. Unfortunately, Michael, I don't think trading Marner is necessarily a solution. I don't think you suck up and trade one player for another in that way, because even though I think there would be a long list of people that would take Marner, there's got to be other ways to do it. I mean, I know Matthews' contract takes up a lot of the salary cap that's going to be, added this year. Please, Gary. But it's hard to imagine the Leafs not re-signing him by the end of the season. I think he's just made too good of an argument, man. Yeah, Mark, you make a good point. Year after year, he raises his game. I totally agree. And he's been, I hate to say this, and even though I will admit I was a bit of a William Nylander naysayer to some degree, it was very difficult to see him play as well as he did in the playoffs last year and see him not get signed over the summer, even though we all thought that he was going to be overpaid if he got overpaid in the summer. The reality is at this point, he's earning that overpayment. So, I opened up this stream talking about death taxes and former Leafs scoring against the Leafs. Let's all as a team, let's all close our eyes and just imagine a scenario really quick. Unless you're driving and you're listening on audio, please don't close your eyes. Do you want to think about William Nylander playing, I don't know, pick a team you don't like, playing against the Leafs and scoring against the Leafs, and how much he would score against the Leafs? Do any of us want that? Come on. Even players that generally don't score a lot turn into Wayne Actual Gretzky when they play against the Leafs. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's something in the water. You come drink the magic waters in Toronto, and then wherever you go after that, there's like secret sauce that you're given before the game, every game, to score against the Leafs, because it seems like every single team with a former Leaf, the Leaf is gonna score. Even let's do a quick rewind to Thursday. Who scored the goal for Dallas? Mason Marchment, because death taxes and former Leafs score against the Leafs. And if I have to watch William Nylander wear another team's jersey and score against the Leafs, my brain might actually pop off my neck like a daisy head, and there's just going to be screaming frustration out of the hole in the top of my torso. Ugh, I don't want to think about it, guys. I don't want to think about it. Yeah, Liberal has a good point. That overpayment seems like fair market value. It does. It really does. It's seeming more and more reasonable and less like an overpayment, and more that he's worth it. There has to be a way to make it work, because I am going to lose my mind if I have to watch William Nylander score against the Leafs in another team's jersey. Plus, on a more personal note, I'm going to Sweden in May, and it would be really nice if I could wear a Leafs Nylander jersey to Sweden. Just saying. And I can't do that if he plays for another team. That would just be awkward. So, let's re-sign him, shall we? We're going to be nearing the end of the stream here, everybody, so make sure you get your questions in. Obviously, it's me just solo tonight, so I'm going to really quickly run through the chat here. God's Tomahawk, Swiss cheese Samsonov. I mean, I think maybe at the beginning of the game, he was a little Swiss-esque. As the game went on, he seemed like more of a Gouda. Maybe still a little soft, not nice and hard like a Parmesan, but, a little bit of give, but seemed to be absorbing pretty well, right? Soft cheeses absorb things pretty well, even if Swiss cheese is soft but has lots of holes in it. So I would say UC Saros, if we're comparing goalies to cheeses, UC Saros would be like, a hard Reggiano cheese. Are you worried about our D? Yes, that is something we talked about. Thank you for reminding me. We do need to talk about that. So, On the topic of the Leafs defense, it sounds like Jake McCabe is not going to be out long term, it sounds like it's going to be good news as good news can be when a player is not playing. It sounds like the injury that they thought was going to be causing some long-term problems is going to be significantly shorter than expected, which sounds like good news. I think I read somewhere that it was a groin issue, which never a good thing to injure. No one likes to not be able to walk. And so William Lagesson comes up tonight. I will say I didn't notice a lot of his play on the actual ice, which in general is a good thing. Right? Like, it's a good thing if I don't notice you and you're one of our D-men. It means you're not making any terrible defensive decisions. So that was nice. But partway through the game, I think it was in the second period, Timothy Liljegren, what goes down the tunnel goes to the Leafs room, does not come back for the third. And actually, maybe someone, if you watch like the Sportsnet stream, can someone just confirm that they also saw on the screen at one point that Tavares had gone to the room? Because I saw that. I had it like written down and everything. And then he was like back on the bench and didn't miss a shift. And so I thought maybe when Liljegren went off the ice, maybe he was just, going and getting something fixed. Because it seemed like John Tavares left and then came back. So I thought, well, maybe Liljegren will be back. But doesn't sound like it. And as the third period winds on, the blender for the defense is in full swing. And Timothy Liljegren unfortunately did not return to the game. Now, obviously, if Jake McCabe comes back in the next couple days, that would be good. And we can just sort of swing William Lagesson over to the other side. But the fact of the matter is that Timothy Liljegren's been pretty good this year. He, to start the season, has looked significantly better than he did last year. He still makes the occasional bad choice, but no D-man is perfect. Every single game, at least once a game, basically every defenseman makes a single mistake. Sometimes Timothy Liljegren's are just a little bit larger and more noticeable. But, again, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Not every single D can be Victor Hedman or, Alex Pietrangelo or pick top pairing defenseman. Am I worried? Yes, because it's the 9th game and we already have 2 injuries on our D, which was concerning to start the season. If you're watching this, that means you know who Steve Dangle is, and Steve has been concerned about the D the whole season, and I don't think he's wrong. I think up till now, they've played pretty well. I imagine that if Liljegren's going to miss some time, which it sounds like might be the case, that maybe Simone Benoit comes up and gets an opportunity, or Connor Timmins comes up and gets up. No, Connor Timmins is injured still. So am I worried? Yes. Will they figure out? Well, they'll have to, because we don't really have an opportunity. Thank you, Leslie. Yes, they did say that. Okay, thank goodness. I thought I was losing my cookies, my days. Just soft in front of our own, Curtis Joseph, just soft in front of our own goal. That was something that I noticed tonight. It looks like on that same thread, Curtis, you have to make a good point. The Leafs on the power play tonight really seem to be trying to make something happen with the tic-tac-toe, with the guy standing just to the one side of the net, with the pass right in front of the net, back up for a one-timer. It just doesn't seem to connect tonight. It looks like the Leafs are going to make a full recovery in terms of their power play. They did get a power play goal tonight, which was nice to see. Would have liked to have seen them get another one, but they are definitely not playing very well in front of their net, and it is going to be a growing concern as the season goes on, because if you watch hockey and you watch the NHL, then you obviously watch some form of playoff hockey. And a lot of the goals that end up happening in the playoffs are those ones in front of our net. And currently, the people that are in front of the net are not the people that we want there. More than a couple times tonight, it was Ryan Reeves in front of the net or Austin Matthews, which, yes, you're capable, but you're too valuable to be in that position. That's not where you're supposed to be. You're okay covering the point, and you're okay, covering the mid-ice and the center, and that's fine, and block a couple shots. But I don't really want Austin Matthews to be the person that's getting cross-checked in the spine and having it played like a xylophone from the Simpsons when we have defensemen who should probably be doing that. Klingberg looked okay tonight. He's still making some interesting pass decisions. and some interesting placement decisions on the power play tonight. At one point, Mitch Marner passed the puck into what would have been the center of the ice, where normally the defenseman stands, and Klingberg is like way off to the side, like at the half board, like so far out of position. It led to a really good scoring opportunity the other way, and it was one of those chances as you know, the puck got closer and closer to our own goal. So I imagine at some point some form of trade has to happen. I don't know who it involves. I don't know what pieces would go the other way. I don't know who would be going out, and I don't know who would be coming back. But especially if a couple injuries keep happening, then I imagine we might have to get somebody else that's maybe a little bit more defensively responsible. It was nice to see our defense score tonight, because that has been something. I think we're like 29th in the league when it comes to scoring from the blue line. So it was nice to see Gio get one tonight. But we need it more consistently. Morgan Rielly has been our best defenseman by a country mile so far this season, and he can't be the only one banking in goals consistently. And I really thought that Klingberg would have gotten one by now. He had a couple really good chances tonight, but they just didn't go through. And it seems to be like this bad cycle that's happening with him, where he's sort of cheating to try to get an opportunity, and while he's creating opportunities, it's creating defensive liabilities going the other way, which is, I would hope it would be a little more balanced. We need help on the back end. Yep. Definitely need more growl on the blue line. Okay, so since we're talking about the defense, who would you want? Put it in the chat. That's what we're here for. Put in the chat what kind of trade you were looking for. Are you looking for a defensive defenseman? Are you looking for a 1-for-1 trade for Matt Dumba for John Klingberg? Because that would be nice. I think they have an almost identical cap hit. Now, I don't know if they would both be willing to make that happen, but I'm pretty sure that it would be possible. Because Klingberg's been okay. He's been serviceable. I don't really love that he's on power play 1. I wish that they would give that back to Morgan Rielly. But you have to imagine that at some point something needs to change, because it just seems like the defense is getting bailed out, or not getting bailed out as much as they could be. It seems like they're really struggling to make really good decisions in terms of puck management, the new guys. And obviously the level of injuries that have so far happened. Again, we're only 9 games in, and we've already had 2 injuries with our limited and already worrisome defensive pairings. So, I think it's only a matter of time. I think it's a when, not an if. Can I put it that way? Oh my Josh, with every game Nylander plays, his prospective AAV rises another $100,000. I actually think you're probably pretty close to being on the nose there. I think at the beginning of this season, we were all talking about like, oh, you're worth maybe 9, not more than that, maybe 9.3, 9.5 if we're stretching it, but definitely not close to 10. And I would say in the last, what will be 10 games as of Tuesday, he has earned himself another $1 million. You know, you can't look at the minutes. If you watch just a highlight pack of his play on the ice so far this season, he is a head and shoulders above a lot of players on the team. Now, granted, our bottom 6 hasn't been scoring as much as we would like them to. It has been, the majority of the goals that have been scored by the Big Four, which, okay, is their job. But William Nylander has been playing like a man out of his mind. And I think it's probably an accurate thing, probably an accurate average. Now, at some point, that bubble has to burst, right? I love William Nylander. He's playing very well. Is he better than Austin Matthews? No. So, to some degree, eventually, that hole will have to be plugged. And it's just a matter of, will we actually be able to afford that whenever that bubble does pop? Because at this point, he's playing himself out of Toronto's ability to keep him under contract. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want him to play worse, but it means that he's very good and is quickly becoming out of reach in terms of reasonability for signing for a reasonable contract. Curtis Joseph, Keefe doesn't like toughness, prefers skill, needs the right mix. I'd like to see Domi get his first goal as a Leaf. I was hoping Domi would get his first goal as a Leaf. Sad it didn't happen tonight. You on Big Z from Calgary. That wouldn't be bad. We have Benoit. I don't like the idea of paying Benoit. Um, Benoit had a tough preseason. I went to one of the preseason games. The preseason game where he had 3 penalties against him. Now, maybe that's just jitters and that's just, the preseason refs being preseason refs. But there's been a lot of penalties called so far this season, more so than I was expecting to still be called at this point. And if they continue to call penalties as frequently as they have been, Simon Benoit might struggle with that just because he makes some really good plays, but sometimes they come with a cost, right? Not to sound like a character from a show, but here we are. With the right moves, Benoit can look at Hall and Detroit. Can play look at Hall and Detroit. Let's not talk about Justin Hall. He's not a Leaf anymore, so we're not going to discuss Justin Hall. I keep imagining him with a Canes jersey, and it's awful. Yeah. Who, William Nylander? Is that who you're talking about, Fernanda? Oh, I don't want to think about that. No, he's not jerky enough. We're not going to talk about, I'm sorry. I would love to answer your question in more detail. I refuse to put into the universe William Nylander playing in another jersey than the Leafs, so sorry. I think if Benoit gets some reps, he'll find his game on a better team. If you want to use that as a reason to bring him up and as trade bait, we could have that conversation. I just don't know how they do that without sacrificing the season. It seems kind of counterproductive to bring someone up just to get them playing, just to trade them. But I guess it's happened in the past. I imagine that one of our rookies would be involved in one of those trades. And we don't have a lot of choice in terms of decent rookies to send their way. Obviously, Nyes is off the table, but with the preseason and the beginning of the season that Fraser Minton had, I guess it depends on what the trade piece is, but I have to imagine that if another team is willing to make a trade with the Leafs to give them what every other team in the league knows they need, which is defense, that it's going to come with a price tag in the shape of Fraser Minton. And I don't know if it's worth that. Oh, you mean for the Leafs. With 9 games in, what do we think? Do we think Ant the new guys? I don't know what. Sorry, Fernanda. I don't know what your question meant. When is Timmins due back? I'm not sure. I think on Cap Friendly he's listed as week to week. I don't think they had a timeline fully established for his return. I know he got injured right at the end of preseason, so we wish him a speedy recovery so that he can come back and play good games for us, because I actually think that Connor Timmins, if you want to know my real thought, I think that by the end of the season there is a slim chance that Connor Timmins is a main staple on this team. But that's my just conspiracy brain. So if anybody has any more questions, get them in, because I'm probably going to wrap the stream up here. I want to say thank you all for being here, hanging out with me in my living room. I've loved talking to all of you tonight. If I didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. Please make sure to follow SDPN. Make sure you guys go check out the other game overs that are happening tonight. There was a head-to-head, I believe, between the Jets and Montreal, I believe. And tomorrow, actually, if anybody that's watching or listening to this is actually in Alberta, tomorrow there's going to be the Heritage Classic game, of course, the Battle of Alberta between Calgary and Edmonton. And there's actually going to be a live game over filmed in Edmonton at the Pint on, I believe it's Whitley Street or something in downtown Edmonton. I will post all of those links down in the comment section as soon as we finish up here. But like I said, thank you all for being here. I hope you all have a wonderful night. The Leafs will be back, and I will be back with them on Tuesday against the LA Kings. And actually next week, if you want to know a secret, there's going to be a very big guest on the 6th on Monday. I'm not going to tell you who, but if you happen to have ever heard of a band called Joy Drop, that's my mic drop. That is your Easter egg. So I will have a guest on next week. Make sure you guys go check out all of the other game modes that are happening tonight and tomorrow. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. And if you had a good time, please come back. I will be back on Tuesday with another one of the hosts. So we will see you then. Leafs unfortunately fall to Nashville in overtime, but ending the road trip strong, getting one of the 2 points, and we will be back on Tuesday evening. Have a great night, everybody.